City Island, a small town located just beyond Pelham Bay Park, is part of New York City. It was originally purchased by Thomas Pell, an English-born physician, in 1654, but over time it shifted hands until it became one of the furthest edges of the Bronx. It was first used as hunting and fishing grounds by natives and the first English settlers, but due to its optimal location on the Long Island Sound, it became a shipbuilding city.
Frank will tell you that I probably grew up in a closet because, I mean, he was an adventuresome little kid that got out.
We were able to play softball and football and sleigh riding in the streets. There were very few cars. It was a great place to grow up.
And he lived down at the middle end of the island, so he got out and near the avenue. So he got out onto the avenue and walked down the end, seeing what was going on, the Coast Guard station, the fishing boats, etc.
Frank and Barbara Hoffman have lived on City Island their entire lives. Frank is a clam digger, a term used for people who were born on City Island. Barbara was born in a nearby hospital off the island.
He managed the boys' basketball team at St. Mary's, and my brother was the star player, so I would go to the basketball games. But I re-met him on an express bus.
I had bought this sailboat, and it was a really a nice sailboat that you could really cruise in. And I was thinking to myself, gee whiz, you know, I have to have somebody to go away with, you know, on a boat with me. But she'll tell you that the reason that I married her is I wanted somebody to go away on the boat. And that's the truth.
Island life has always been different from the bustling metropolis a few miles away. Most shops and restaurants lie along City Island Avenue, which runs from the north and south along the whole island. With changing times, City Island adapted from having an economy based on oystering to that based on shipbuilding, to based on restaurants and stores.
Well, the earliest days of shipbuilding were probably in the middle of the 19th century. The big business here then was oystering. When oystering started to fall off as a business because people got sick of them, the City Islanders, being clever, turned to ship and yacht building.
Living on the water shapes the lives of the islanders as they start boating from an early age.
I annoyed my father so much that I wanted a boat that he did go to the lumber yard and got the makings of a boat, and he made a box that was pointed at one end, and that was a boat. I got that boat, and I think I wore out a couple of pairs of oars rowing that boat. And growing up, the shipyards were still working. But it was almost like a shape-up, where the men went to work carrying their toolbox. If they needed people, they would call them in. And if they didn't need people, they would come home.
After the Second World War, boat building went into decline, creating an economy based on restaurants and antique stores, which attract tourists in the summer.
There are many storefronts here, for example, that are empty because no longer can local businesses be supported by the resident community. You want people to shop here year-round, and it's very difficult to find the right kind of business for that. Our hardware store does well, our supermarket does well, but people who come here to sell things that tourists are interested in only run their businesses really during the summer, and that's very difficult.
But with this economic push into the 21st century, City Island continues to maintain their rich history. They continue to enjoy the little intricacies that make City Island unique.
Having people come here from Brooklyn and from Manhattan and from Norway and from Australia, to have them come here and see what an interesting history City Island has had is very rewarding. And to try to maintain some of the pride that we had in our past as well as in our present.
I think, you know, there's sort of a peacefulness about it most of the time. I mean, you know, obviously we have a great view.
I love the old architecture here. The diversity of the architecture is part of the appeal.
So it's a nice place to live. We really can enjoy the seasons.
I don't want to give to sell my house to anybody. I'd like my son to have it, and then his children, and so forth.